everybody, so today I'm just going over the answers for the quiz review. For the first one, if you look at it, it seems like we have two things that look the same here. So radical 3. So that means I just want to add together the numbers that are in front. So I have -2 minus 4, that's -6, radical 3. And that's all the answer is. For the next one, same thing again. So 2 minus 3 is -1, radical 8 again. Because you put together the things that look the same on the inside, so those just stay a radical 8, and then you add or subtract 2 minus 3. For the next one, okay, this one's a little bit harder. What we're going to have to do is try to simplify this a little bit. So 12, how can I break up 12? Well, I could do 2 and 6, 2 and 3. So I have a pair of 2s, I have a 3. For 27, I have 3 and 9, and then 3 and 3. So I have a pair of 3s and a 3 left over. So looking at this closer, I'm going to have -3, radical 2 from the beginning. So that's coming from right here. Okay, for 27, I'm going to have -2 coming from right here times 3 coming from this circle, radical 3 coming from this box, minus 3 coming from right here times 2 coming from this circle, radical 3. So that tells me that I'm going to have -3 radical 2 minus -2 times 3, that's -6 radical 3 minus 6 radical 3 again. So simplifying this, we have -3 radical 2, -6 minus 6 is -12 radical 3. So that is the answer I'm looking for. For the next one, it looks like we have, well, let's go ahead, 24. So that's 2 and 12. That is 2 and 6. That's 2 and 3. So I'm going to circle. I got a pair of 2s. And then this part is still in a box. 5 I can't do anything with. 54. I have 2 and 27. And then 3 and 9. And then 3 and 3. So it looks like I have a pair of 3s. And then the 2 and the 3 are left over. So let's go ahead and simplify this. This negative sign I'm going to put out in front. So I have negative. Well, I have a circle of 2s. So 2. Radical, what is 2 times 3? 2 times 3 is 6, so radical 6. Minus 3, radical 5, that came from right here. Minus 2, coming from right here, times this circle of 3's, so 3. Radical, 2 times 3 is 6. So simplifying, I have -2 radical 6, minus 3 radical 5, minus 6 radical 6. Now I have two things that both have radical 6, so let's go ahead and combine those. So I have -2 minus 6, so that is -8 radical 6 minus 3 radical 5. Okay, the next one, square root of 200. So let's go ahead and try this out. We have 200, 2 and 100, 2 and 50, 2 and 25, and then 5 and 5. So I have a pair of 5s and a pair of 2s, and then I have 1, 2 left over. I have 2 p's, 1, 2. I'm going to circle them. So on the outside, everything that's in circles, I have 2 times 5 times p, radical, what's in a box? 2. So 2 times 5 is 10, p, radical 2. Okay, next one, 72. Let's go ahead and split this up. So let's go 2 and 36, 2 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 3. So I have a pair of 3s, a pair of 2s, and then a 2 left over. I have 4 x's, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to put circles around all my pairs of 2. So everything in circles, I have 2 times 3 times x. How many circles do I have around my x's? 2. So x squared, radical, what's in the box? 2. 2 times 3 is 6. I have x squared, radical 2. That is my final answer. Okay, next one. It's the same thing again, guys. So we have 2 and 64. 64 is actually a perfect square. So I can do 8 and 8. Okay, so I'm going to circle my 8s. I have a 2 left over. X and X. That's one circle. So I have 8x radical 2. Next one, square root of 32. So I have 2 and 16, and then 4 and 4. Or you could have went ahead and said 2 and 8, 2 and 4, but I prefer to just know that 4 and 4 give me 16. So then I have 1p, so I can't circle that, so I'm going to have 4 radical 2p. The next one, these are getting a little bit harder now. I have 192, so I have 2 and 96, and then 2 and 48, and then 2 and 24, and then 2 and 12, and then 2 and 6, and 2 and 3. Okay, so I have a pair of 2's here, pair of 2's here, pair of 2's here. I have a 3 left over. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's one pair, there's 2 pairs. Okay, so at the very beginning, I'm going to look. I have negative 7 times 2 times 2 times 2 times n to the how many circles around n's? 2 of them. So n squared radical, what's in a box? 3. So my answer for this is going to be negative 56 n squared radical 3. Okay, next one. 63. Let's see, what can go into this? 3 and 21. 3 and 7. And then I can't do anything with 7. So I have a pair of 3's and a 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have one pair. I have 2 pairs. So I have 7 from right here times 3 coming from the circle times a. I have 2 circles around my a's. Radical 7. 7 times 3 is 21a squared radical 7. Next one. Oh my goodness. 245. Well, 5 and 49. And 49, that's 7 and 7, isn't it? So I have a pair of 7's. I have 5 left over. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many pairs do I have? 1, 2. Okay, so I have negative 7 times 7 from the circle, p squared, because there's 2 circles around my p's, radical 5. Negative 7 times 7, that's negative 49, p squared, radical 5. Okay, next one, 64. 64 is already a perfect square, isn't it? So we have 8 and 8. Okay, so I have negative 8 times 8. V squared, so I have 2 V's, that's one pair, so V. I don't have any boxes, so I don't have anything on the inside, so it's just negative 64 V. Next one, okay, this time we are multiplying together things. Well, if I have 2 things under a square root, and they're both the same exact thing, that just tells me, hey, it's just 15. That's it. The next one, we can multiply together things that are under the square root, so we have radical 10. Can I break up 10 at all? So 2 and 5. No, I can't do anything else. So it's just radical 10. The next one. Okay, so we can multiply together the things that are under the square root. So these 2 things can get multiplied together. These 2 things can get multiplied together. So looking at this very first part, negative 3 is going to stay the same because there's nothing blue right here. And then radical 20. Plus negative 3 times 2 is negative 6 radical 10. So 20, I can do 2 and 10, 2 and 5. So that's a pair of 2's and a 5. So that tells me I'm going to have negative 3 times 2 radical 5 plus, let's make that a minus. Minus 6 radical 10. So that's negative 6 radical 5 minus 6 radical 10. next one. Again, we're just multiplying things together. So we have radical 5 times 15 is 75. So I have radical 75. Oops, the wrong thing. Radical 75 plus 3 radical 6 times 15 is 90. And 75, we have 5 and 15. And then 3 and 5. So that's a pair of 5s. That 3 is left over. So I have 5 radical 3 plus 90. That's 2 and 45. That is 5 and 9. That's 3 and 3. So that tells me I'm going to have 3 times the 3 that's in the circle, radical 10. So 5 radical 3 plus, not 6, 9 radical 10. Okay, next one. 3 radical 2 times 10 is 20a squared minus 3 radical 30a. Okay, so 20, that's 2 and 10, 2 and 5. 30, that's 2 and 15, and then 3 and 5. So I can't do anything with that. So it looks like I'm going to have 3 times 2, because I have a pair of 2's right here. I had 2 a's, so that tells me I have 1 a on the outside, radical 5 from right here, minus 3 radical 30a, because I can't do anything with that. Oh, I can simplify this. 3 times 2 is 6a radical 5 minus 3 radical 30a. Okay, next one. Still the same exact stuff. So negative 3 radical 5 times 3 is 30 plus negative 3 radical 25. So that tells me I'm going to have negative 3 radical 30 minus 3 times square root of 25 is 5. So 3 times 5 is 15. So that is my final answer. This time we have a square root on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is multiply the top and the bottom by only the radical 4, because I don't really want to deal with the 5. So that's radical 6 times 4 is 24 over 5 radical 16. Okay, so 24, let's split this up. 2 and 12, 2 and 6, 2 and 3, so that's a pair of 2's, and then a 2 and a 3 left over. So I have 2 radical 2 times 3 is 6 over 5 times radical of 16 is 4, so 5 times 4 is 20. We can simplify that a little bit more, the 2 and the 20, so that's radical 6 over 10. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here, and then I'll have the next one up in a second.